Hey, I'm doing my 2005 Toyota Sienna wheel bearing job. I'm kind of in the middle of it, but I thought I'd back up and tell everybody what I've done. I've got a little cold here. Well, there's probably some other videos out there that'll show you how to do this. So there's the brake caliper. I tied it up with a piece of something. Now to push the axle out, let me go over here. So you see, this is the setup for the slide hammer to wham off the thing your car wheel bolts to. And there's one of the races of the bearing got left on. Here's the other race with the balls, and in here I've partially started to push that out, which I'll show you in a second. The value of this video is to demonstrate the fact that you can use these kits to remove the wheel bearing while this stuff is all still on the car. So it may reduce the chance of needing a major realignment because the bolts never got undone. But okay, there it is. This piece was in there too. So instead of that being there, this was screwed in there, and it was used to push. Holding on to that, it was then used to push this axle out, the splined axle. Mine came out with no trouble. You can see it's quite greased up on the spline, so it came out with ease. Some people may have that rusted shut, so it may be an issue. Okay, on the back, if you go around to the back of that, see if I can quickly go around the back. You're going to have this thing you're going to need to take off. I pried it up with a screwdriver and whatnot. I think I also stuck a screwdriver in that hole. Of course, that's where the wheel ABS sensor goes, so of course I unscrewed that. I'm not telling you how, it's just a single screw holding that on, but other videos may show you the disassembly up to this point easier. Then there was this ring clip. I didn't have a strong enough clip to close on that, so I used a screwdriver to bend it upwards, and then a kitchen knife to get behind it and kind of wedge it around until I got more and more of it out of its hole, until I finally... Okay, that was that. Alright, so here's the main point of this video. Is this set here has various size things to use. Now notice the slight deformation in the metal. So I guess when you put this in the back of here, it's not perfect. The Toyota doesn't have a perfect flat matching surface for that. There may be some ridge or two. So the idea is the dead bearing is going to be pushed into this chamber by screw action. So here's my screw. I've coated my threads with Moly Z, molybdenum disulfide. I'm sure they still got this product. This was left over from my dad's garage, 1990s era, Moly Coat Z powder. It's supposed to have a really strong, so as the screw turns, it won't push the lubrication off the threads. It'll stay there, so you won't get your bolt or your nut freezing up on the shaft. So let me see if I can put this on my tripod while we do some work here. So I'm going to get this tripoded. Just a sec here. I got to learn how to edit videos to be a real YouTuber here. Let's see how that looks. Alright, I guess that's good enough. Oh, by the way, this is a 5-pound slide hammer. I had to hold on to this 5-pound weight with both hands and push it back as fast as I could. Using just one hand wasn't quite enough oomph to get that bearing to start being pulled off its press fitting. So, but 2 hands made it adequate. Not as good as a 10-pounder, but 5-pound worked for this Toyota. Alright, let me check and see if I'm still aligned after I bumped that camera. Yep, still aligned. Alright, here we go. I'm going to go back in the back again. See, I already started doing this, and what I found out was it'll reach a point where you really have to be torquing on your wrench, and it pops loose, and then after that it's just a slow and steady pull. Alright, let's see if I can find my missing pieces here. So there's my bolt. That looks like it's been having some action, so this must be my, yep, see, it fits right there. Let me try to demonstrate that again. So this diameter will fit into the car's hole, but catch onto the bearing that needs to be pushed out. The outer race of the bearing, maybe. And there's my bolt. It's got threads about halfway through. This came with this kit. I have to say it is doing fine. I was a little worried that these bolt threads might not hold up, but at least for this single job so far, no trouble. Alright, so I'm going to get this in the back to hold the bolt head in the back. And then I'm going to use my little primitive pipe wrench to do that. And of course I'm not going to be able to have enough torque, so I got to go to the cheater bar, start the crank. So I am, as we speak, we're pushing that bearing out of its home. So the things you have to take off on your wheel, of course, is your wheel. Then the brake disc. I had to use a hammer here to rotate. I put the car in neutral and had it jacked up. Yep, I'm using jack stand. I was about to get lazy, but since I remembered the fact that jack stands are promoted, I decided to go ahead and be safe. Alright, so it's a slow and tedious process of slowly pushing that bearing out of my car. I'm hoping I'm making some progress. You can't tell. Surprised that my primitive tools are able to withstand the cheater pipe here to rotate this maybe 1.25 inch threads of nut size. But it's about 60 degrees today. We had some weird weather. We're going, supposedly, according to Mr. Weatherman. So looking around on YouTube, the Toyota style front wheel seems to be pretty similar, at least within a range of models and years. I actually saw a good one on a Toyota Camry that showed me about the fact that you have this and that in the back there. The only difference being that gentleman's video, he took the entire, whatever you call this thing, off. I want to try to leave it on the car. That's the fun part, see if it's going to work for this model. And so far I think I've been able to push that through. Let me try to speed it up here. I don't have my editing video, so I can't press the speed up button. I'll just have to try to actually speed up. Maybe I can get a bigger crank in there. I'll pull two cranks in one pull. There you go. I just sped myself up by double speed. Alright. And my opinion on the torque on my threads right now is I'm kind of mild. Nothing really to make me feel like I'm endangering my threads. However, in the very beginning, there came a not quite at the beginning, but there did came a period where I felt like I was going into some very increased torque. I was stopping and tapping on this particular nut. I didn't feel like I was damaging anything. There's no threads there yet to squash. Oh, I scared my dog. Come on back, Lily. My wife's dog. Now I did do the, as you may see in the other videos, I put the new wheel bearing, as well as I bought a new the thing that the wheel mounts to. I don't know, is it called a wheel hook? Now one thing I noticed is, where does the old wheel bearing set on the wheel hub? And it looks like it's pretty much touching, which is a good thing for me. It means I can press it back together until I feel these things touching. So I did notice in the Camry video that the gentleman tried to measure, you know, how far you're supposed to push that in. But I think it's like foolproof. I'm not a mechanic or a representative of Toyota, but I think you can just keep pressing that bearing on until it reaches the stop point. Yeah, I'm scratching this a little bit, but hey, it's my car. It's been an accident on this side anyways, which is probably why the wheel bearing was acting up when I bought it. Yeah, I think when you go to buy a car, people's defenses usually get lowered in certain instances, like mine. So I discovered a few things wrong after we bought this car. So as pointers, if you're going to buy a car, this is what at least from this car, bring along a friend with a checklist. Check your battery voltage when it's not running. Mine ended up being like 1 cell down. And check the voltage when the car is running to see if your alternator is charging the battery. Do you notice any coolant smell? My radiator had a slow leak. I ended up putting a new radiator in this car. So I'll bring along somebody whose nose can detect that. Another thing is, there was a gumminess, a slight haze on the inside of the windshield, front windshield, which to me meant that ethylene glycol was condensing out onto the surface of the windshield, which was another thing that at least it cleared up when after I wiped it off and put a new Denso radiator in here. Gotta love Denso. What else do you want to check for? Oh, take the darn thing on the highway. This thing had a wheel shutter, which I'm thinking is the bearing, and it only showed up and got up to about 50 miles per hour. So I took it to drive it around the neighborhood. Everything was great. So, yeah, make that on your checklist if you're buying a used car. And if ever the guy selling the car says, "Oh, I'm not able to do that," it's because he's hiding something. Alright, this suddenly got fairly easy. Let's see if we're going to push that bearing out more quickly. Get my exercise here. Oh, another thing to do, have somebody who can crawl under the car and look at it. How rusty is the muffler? Has this car been experienced, or has it been kept nice and clean under there? This car was quite rusty. My muffler developed a hole a month after I bought it. Not a muffler, but the pipe somewhere at the joint. This flex joint. Alright. Something just happened there. Let's see what we got. We got a bearing. There's a dead bearing pushed right out of my car. So this is proof that you can do a bearing job on a Toyota Sienna 2005 and any related year and get that bearing out without taking all that stuff apart, which may save you. It may make the job possible if you're a home mechanic, or if you're professional, it just may save you a little bit of time. Alright, I'm going to shut this thing down and see if I can squeeze the new bearing in. There's the old one. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Toyota Sienna.